That's why Carolina's in Chapel Hill and USC's in California. And the university in this state always has been, always will be, Clemson. Print that, tweet that.
And I hope they come in undefeated. That's what I told you before the game. Our team believes. Our team believes. They got heart. We got greatness in us. They say we can't do it. What they say now?
Down go the Champs. Auburn's 17-game win streak comes to an end.
We got greatness in us. So I told them, you got greatness in you, but you got to make a decision to be great. They made a decision to be great today. And I couldn't think of a better place to end the streak than Death Valley, South Carolina, baby.
And now it's time for TigerNet Talk, presented by Cross Creek Timber and Cross Creek Realty.
They got the coaches back, and they have each other's back.
Welcome back in, episode number 176 of TigerNet Talk. I'm your host, Lawton Swan. Thank you so much for being here. I've got to tell you, there have been some changes. You can obviously see them. And the biggest disappointment for me right now is this bottom third banner. My gracious. Try to deliver. I make it clutch. When you see the YouTube version, you won't believe how crystal clear and crispy it is. But then you look at the version we have here, not exactly the best I've seen from Spreecast. Thank you so much for being here. And speaking of Spreecast, we're moving up the charts fairly rapidly. A shocking move. Whether you sort by people or channel, we have emerged. Not at the top of the list. I'd love to be up there where Blazecast is. Blazecast, they have about 17,000 viewers each and every show. But we're getting there. Top 11 from time to time, moving into the top 10. I'd love to get up to the top 5, but I can't do it without you. All the information below, no longer that scrolly going on. You can just tune in right there. Clemson81@gmail.com is the email address. 803-450-0086 is the phone number. On Twitter, we're at Clemson Sports. And you can tweet to the show, hashtag TN Talk. We've got all our screens available. The screens of doom, if you will. Clemson Tiger baseball team just picked up a win against Gardner-Webb, 4-1. The Tigers now 18-11 on the season. Garrett Bulware. Can we give this kid a nickname? I mean, I really believe that this kid probably needs a nickname. I don't know what anybody's calling him. I'd love to know in the chat room, though, what you would call Garrett. I mean, the kid just has some pop. Another home run for him. He had 2 hits with 2 RBIs to lead the Tigers in this 4-1 victory. And when you look back, you know, I think we always talk about a spark. We always talk about a game that gives you momentum. Clemson with a big victory over the number 1 ranked North Carolina Tar Heels. The Tar Heels were 25-1 coming into that ball game on Monday, just a couple of days ago. And obviously for Clemson fans, you do realize that we didn't win the series. I mean, we understand that. Losing a series 2-1 by winning the final game doesn't really make you feel great. But it's the fact that this team dug and through 11 innings found a way to win a 5-4 game. That's what makes you feel good, and to be only the second team to have defeated North Carolina this year. And for Clemson right now, I guess all in all, the baseball team and the feel around the program hasn't been good. But hopefully this is that spark. Hopefully this is the time that this team will be shot out of that cannon, to say the least. And maybe we'll begin to see them play a little bit better baseball. Now, it certainly does not hurt that the beginning of this schedule was loaded. The beginning of this season was a very difficult stretch for Clemson, and now they may have an opportunity, because of the games and because of the teams that are remaining, for them to finish strong, to finish with some confidence. And hopefully this was the game that will get them there. Hopefully that win over North Carolina. But you can't go and lose midweek games. Those are so critical, and I know you don't have your best pitchers on the mound. But losses to teams like Gardner-Webb, you can't have those. And thank goodness that didn't happen. Now, the Clemson Tigers have a weekend series against Boston College. Boston College winless in conference play So not only can you not lose midweek games, can I make a rule right here that you cannot lose to Boston College? Clemson Tom says it's Garrett, long ball, bullware. RC Sports Car says it's the horse. And the folks over at TigerNet call him G Bull. I mean, look, when you need somebody to deliver, right now, I mean, is it delivery? It's DiGiorno? Can we call him DiGiorno? This kid delivers. This kid is so clutch. And it just makes you feel good. And it also, I think, gives you a little bit of hope for his brother Ben. I mean, it just kind of makes you think, hey, if this kid, Garrett Bullware, can be so spectacular on the baseball field, why can't his brother step up, maybe not in year one, but down the road and be a very key player for Clemson, be everything that Tiger fans hope he will be. Make no mistake about it, though. That win over North Carolina, while still losing the series, can carry a lot of weight. The Tigers really gutted it out, man. They really did. They fought, and they fought. And North Carolina, that's a good ball club. That is a really good ball club. But the Tigers now 6-6 in Atlantic Coast Conference play. Halfway through the entire season, not quite halfway through the Atlantic Coast Conference season. But that front end was loaded, man. UVA, UNC, NC State. I mean, it was a tough road for the Tigers. And I know that you expect them. I know that the expectation is still for Clemson to not drop series like they did to Virginia, to not drop series like they did to North Carolina. The belief is still there, and the fire in the belly of Tiger fans is still there. So many people still expect what we've seen for so long, even though the realization is Virginia and North Carolina are very, very good teams. Speaking of very good teams, I think you could argue that this man coached some of the greatest Clemson Tiger men's basketball teams in history. I know that the Rick Barnes squad that lost to Minnesota, a cheating Minnesota team, I might add, Clem Haskins and his scandalous tactics there at Minnesota. That basketball team with Tom Wyman, Harold Jamison, Tony Christie, Andres Jerkunas, Terrell McIntyre, Greg Buckner, that team was a really good ball club. But the teams that were coached by Cliff Ellis at Clemson were probably some of the best we've ever seen, and some of the best players that have ever come through the program. The Horace Grants, the Eldon Campbells, the Dale Davises, the Sharon Wrights. Cliff Ellis brought in studs from everywhere. Cliff Ellis delivered the goods to Clemson Tiger Nation, and I think for many of you, much like me, when you think of Cliff Ellis, you immediately think Clemson Tiger basketball. And when you think of great coaches, you think of the one guy that never really burned you, and that was Coach Cliff Ellis. We had a chance to sit down with Coach Ellis just a day ago, and we're going to have that interview with him right after these messages.
Carry on, though you're weak and don't feel strong. Carry on, though the road may seem so long. 'Cause I've got faith in you, and you can make it through. Carry on.
Miss that old familiar ping of college baseball? Well, guess what? You don't have to miss a single game of Clemson Tiger baseball, as you can stay at the closest hotel to Doug Kingsmore Stadium, the Clemson University Conference Center and Inn. Rooms are available for baseball season with lakeside accommodations, complimentary continental breakfast, bar, Seasons Restaurant by the lake, Joe's Place Bar, and the Walker Golf Course. All are waiting for you right around the corner from the stadium. For reservations, contact General Manager Sharon Franks at Sharon Clemson.edu or call toll-free 1-888-654-9020 and ask to speak to Sharon. It's the Clemson University Conference Center and in. Go to www.clemsonuniversityin.com. G-Dog General Dentistry at Oak Grove is located on Highway 1 near the Barnyard Flea Market. Modern, relaxing dentistry with TVs and headphones in every room, nitrous and even oral sedation. Digital diagnostic x-rays for better quality and 85% less radiation exposure. And check out their new Clemson Patient Special. Mention that you heard about G-Dog here on the Clemson Sports Talk programs and receive an extra 5% off all services. If you don't have a regular dentist, go see my dentist, Dr. Rick Jackson at G-Dog. That's General Dentistry at Oak Grove. A winning team requires having great team members. If you're a landowner interested in selling timber or are considering buying or selling land, call the winning team of Cross Creek Timber and Cross Creek Realty, LLC today. Put the knowledge and skills of professional licensed foresters and realtors to work for your team. To learn more about services offered by Cross Creek Timber and Cross Creek Realty, LLC, visit www.crosscreektimber.com and easily follow the link to real estate or reach them by phone 864-517-3620 or 864-517-3621. Clemson Sports Talk fans, let us help you. With rates starting as low as $100 a month, you can advertise with us through July 2013. We are currently seeking additional advertisers and would love to help you spread the word about your business. Email us clemson81@gmail.com for additional information. Sponsors will receive an ad during the show and a link and logo in the weekly show notes on TigerNet and on the front page of ClemsonSportsTalk.com. Take your business to the Clemson fans around the world with us, ClemsonSportsTalk.com.
The 1988 season was a great year for the Clemson Tigers, finishing 10-2 with a win over Oklahoma in the Citrus Bowl. But it was a better year for Clemson fans. That season, Tigertown Graphics became your source for custom tees, promotional items, and embroidery. Conveniently located in the heart of downtown Clemson, their retail store proudly displays Clemson shirts that are designed and printed directly on site. Whether you're looking for the latest Clemson t-shirts or ordering products for your school, organization, or business, Tigertown Graphics can help with all of your t-shirt needs. Find them online at www.tigertowngraphics.com. A Clemson tradition since 1988.
They're playing basketball. We love that basketball. They're playing basketball.
Welcome back into another edition of TigerNet Talk presented by Cross Creek Timber and Cross Creek Realty. I'm your host, Lawton Swan, and we're joined now on the line by former Clemson Tiger head men's basketball coach, Cliff Ellis. Coach Ellis, welcome into the program. I know Tiger fans everywhere can't wait to hear from you. Of course, currently the head coach down at Coastal Carolina. But I tell you what, for a guy who grew up during the time that you were the head coach at Clemson, when I think Clemson Tiger basketball, I still think Cliff Ellis.
You're very kind, Lawton. It was a great 10 years. I really enjoyed it. Still have a lot of friends there. As a matter of fact, I've got two daughters who have lived there. One still lives there, Catherine, and the other one, Chris, is now in Australia for a couple of years. We have great ties back at Clemson, great friends. It's a great university, and 10 great years. It was very good. I enjoyed it.
Now, your time down at Coastal Carolina has been good as well for you and your family, obviously. And for, hey, I tell you what, I mentioned that we were going to have an avid singer on the program. A lot of people may not know that about you. Somebody said, are you having Justin Bieber on? I said, no, not Justin Bieber, Coach Cliff Ellis. But now you're down there at the Grand Strand. Basically, you get to enjoy that beach music and do some singing. You still keep that up?
Well, every now and then there'll be a band around, and if there's some kind of gala or fundraising activity, I will do it. I mean, I tried to give that business up back a long time ago, but, through Clemson ties and even Auburn ties, the Muscle Shoals down in Alabama, and then, a great Clemson fan in Marion Carter who has repeat records, who got me back involved, and it's been a fun thing. I do enjoy it, and, really, truly, if it weren't for Clemson, I wouldn't be at Coastal Carolina because I got to love the Grand Strand area during my times at Clemson, and I'd been out of coaching for a couple of years, and when the job came up, I knew that I could be very comfortable and happy at Coastal Carolina. And not many jobs at that point in time would I have taken, but Coastal Carolina intrigued me because of the things you mentioned. Number one, it's a great area, but music's good. But more importantly for me, they were trying to rebuild a basketball program that has had a tough time over the last 15 years. So it was a perfect fit for me, and I enjoy it. But I give a lot of credit to that to being at Clemson during those times.
Now, when you look at your tenure at Clemson, you're in the conference with the likes of Coach Bobby Crimmins, Coach Mike Krzyzewski, Dean Smith at North Carolina, and Jim Valvano. And I know that you did a rendition of Amazing Grace on your record, Cliff Ellis and Friends, dedicated to the late Jim Valvano. An unbelievable documentary of their story to their run to the national championship back in 1983 on ESPN. I'm sure you had a chance to watch that. But Jim Valvano, sadly, with his passing not long before my mother actually passed away from cancer when I was 16 as well. So I kind of know the feeling of what people go through with that. But tell us about Jim Valvano and your memories of him.
Well, he was a tremendous friend. Of course, when I came along, it was 84 to 94. That was a golden era. If you talk to Krzyzewski, if you talk to coaches like Terry Holland, Lefty Drizel, you could go on Carl Casey at Wake Forest. Just tremendous. Dean Smith, tremendous basketball coaches. And it was a time when basketball was really the ultimate. And television was just starting to come into play. And I got to meet Jim. The first time I met him was at a spring ACC meeting. And I fell in love with the guy with his sense of humor. I mean, he would always take over a room. And, through the times, I know that he was one of the first people to reach out to me when we had a first good team, and that was with Horace Grant in 86, 87. And, he really helped promote our basketball team during a time when Clemson was, somewhat had been a fledgling basketball program that needed some attention. And, he helped promote that, and I appreciated that. And we stayed in touch. Our wives became very close friends. Carolyn and Pam still communicate, and Jim's children, we got to know them. But Jim was a guy that I was just extremely shocked when I found out that he had cancer. And I made a point, and we made a point, until the last 6 weeks of his life, we talked every week. Just talked in general, because I just can't imagine going through that, knowing that you've been given a death sentence, so to speak. And you got to be thinking all the time of what's going on. And I just felt like a conversation once a week may take his mind off of it. And we'd just talk in general about different things. And he'd make me laugh, and I'd try to make him laugh. He was just a great man, great character. And of course, little did we know at that time what would come out of his death, which has been something that has touched so many lives. We lost Jim, but there's so many lives that have been saved through the Jimmy B Foundation with cancer research. There's just so much that's been done. And I had a friend while he was, I'd say probably 2 or 3 months before he passed away, that had the same type of cancer, and Jim wanted to call that person. That person is now deceased, but Jim would reach out to that person, and they would talk, and it was just it was something that I learned a lot from. The friendship that I gained over that was immense, and what a great man. And of course, that run in '83 was a time that we look back, and when you think of that basketball team, how many times they came from behind to win. It's a great story. It is a great story. And now we've got the Final Four coming up, and I don't think anybody goes to the Final Four and recalls and does not recall. How can you forget that North Carolina State National Championship year in '83?
No doubt about it. That's the voice of former Clemson Tiger men's head basketball coach Cliff Ellis, now the coach down at Coastal Carolina, down on the Grand Strand, Myrtle Beach, Conway area. And, Coach, I wanted to ask you about some of those Clemson Tiger teams that you had, especially the team back in 19, the 89-90 team that went to the Sweet 16. And just I know you – I have nightmares of Tate George. I literally cried in front of my TV when that happened because I think I let you down. I got out of my hot spot. I had gotten in a hot spot, and you guys had come back. You had clawed back against BYU. You had clawed back against LaSalle. Then that game against UConn, Tate George from the corner with 1 second to go. What do you remember about that game?
Well, probably the most heartbreaking loss. I've had 2 heartbreaking losses in the Sweet 16. I lost by 1, or our team lost by 1 to Connecticut. And then in 2003, the year that Syracuse won the national championship, we lost by 1 to Syracuse in Albany, New York. Those were 2 grueling losses from the standpoint of every time you win a game like that, the stakes get higher and bigger. And Clemson hasn't been in those situations very many times, and you want it for them. And, what I remember is just the complete high of going ahead, just to go back over the scene. We had taken the lead by 1 with David Young hitting a corner shot. I'll never forget, our bench was telling him, shoot it. He knocks down a 3. We go up by 1, and Connecticut goes down and misses the shot. And we get the rebound with 1.6 seconds to play, I believe. And so we're up by 1 with the free throw and 1-1, and we missed the 1-1. And they get the rebound, and I think there's 1.3 or maybe 1.6. But back in those days, they didn't have the digital. You started it with your finger, and we were in the Meadowlands, and I'm not saying anybody did anything purposely, but we put Eldon Campbell on the ball. We knew the game wasn't over, but we put Eldon Campbell on the ball, who's 7 feet. Connecticut was very smart. They backed up as far as they could. They took a pitcher, Scotty Burrell, who played professional baseball. They put him throwing the ball in, and we put Eldon Campbell on the ball. He threw the ball to the side, and we had 2 players go at it. And Sean Tyson was a player that thought he was going to run into him on the catch, and he avoided him. And Tate George caught the ball. He caught it in the air now. He caught the ball in the air, came down, turned, and shot it. We've taken a stopwatch to it, and our stopwatch does not coincide with the fact that that clock was where it's at. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. I think it gave the jump start to Connecticut's rise with Jim Calhoun, and it was a very tough loss. But what a great year, because that particular team did something that nobody's ever done at Clemson. And when you think of all the basketball games and the teams that have been there, that was a team that won the only ACC championship that Clemson's ever had. And to do that in a time when Krzyzewski was at Duke and North Carolina was coached by Dean Smith, you had Terry Holland, you had Babon, you had all these great coaches there during that time. And the league had not been watered down from football. It was a basketball league primarily. Football was great, but basketball was something else, and you didn't have all the teams that are in it now. The Clemson team won it against just some tough teams, and that was just a great year. But you got a guy like Eldon Campbell, Dale Davis, and guys like that, you got a chance. We didn't know when we recruited them they were going to be that good, but as we saw, they've had great professional careers. But even the guys around that team, Sean Tyson, Kirkland Howling, you could go on and on, David Young, Derek Forrest, Marion Cash, Sean Lansing, just Colby Brown, great guys, Ricky Jones, great group, and I hated to start calling names because I know I'll forget somebody. But that was a great group.
Well, you talk about the Atlantic Coast Conference and maybe being watered down recently because of football, but now you look at the direction of this league. You're talking about adding Louisville, Syracuse, Pitt, Notre Dame into the basketball mix as well. What do you think about the job, or what do you think Brad Brownell is going to have to deal with? I mean, this league now, you've got two of those teams playing in the Final Four who are going to be coming into the league. You know, where's your mindset? If you're sitting at Clemson and all of a sudden you're adding more basketball talented teams, where's your mindset if you're Coach Brad Brownell?
Well, I think it would go back to 1984 because a lot of people told me in '84, do not take that job. Do not. I mean, Hugh Durham was a mentor of mine who was at Clemson. I mean, at Georgia at the time, and Big Boobas, who had been at Duke. He was commissioner of our conference. And they said, you're going into something that you just cannot be successful at. What they told me was the reason I ended up taking the job, because I just couldn't believe that it couldn't be done. Because my feeling was, okay, you may not win the league, but if you can go in there and win, you know, with the NCAA tournament the way that it is now, you don't have to win the league to get to the NCAA tournament.
Right.
But if you get in a league where you can be successful, it really makes the ticket to the NCAA. It was, for me, it was easier to get the NCAA at Clemson and Auburn than it is to get there when I was at South Alabama and we were able to get there. We still haven't got there at Coastal Carolina, but you have to win your tournament when you're Coastal Carolina against 12. There's 12 of you, and that's hard to do. That's hard. But if you can get in and you can compete and have a good year and win, if you can win, if the goal is to win 500 of your games in a situation like that, because if you can do that, and then in that 500 season, you need to be above it a game or two. But in that 500 and above season, if you can knock off a Duke or Carolina or Miami, you know, whoever is, you got a chance to beat a top 10 or 15 team, a top 20 team, and you got a chance to beat them at home. So you just got to try to do that. So I look at it from the standpoint of Syracuse and these teams coming in. It can be an advantage. You just need to be able to be able to win some games and do that. So, you know, the goal is to be able to compete and not necessarily win the league. That's just so difficult at Clemson. The next guy that wins the league at Clemson, I've said this, I'll go, and at Auburn, I will go kiss the ring because I know how hard that is. That is as difficult a challenge as there is. But what great satisfaction if you can pull it off, such as Miami did this year. You know, that hadn't happened for Miami. I kept thinking as I watched Miami this year go through that, I said, you know, that feeling that Jim Larrañaga's going through is what we went through in '89 and '90. And what a great feeling it was. But there were trailblazers before that. I remember this, Lawton. In 1987, we finished second in the league. And I mean, it was an unbelievable sight. The people at Clemson cut the nets down. I'd never seen a runner-up team in the ACC cut the nets down. But when we finished second, the fans rushed the floor because they had never finished second before. Right. And that was hard to grant. And that was a great year because they said, man, we've never finished second. And so, you know, I appreciate that 87 team as much as I do all those teams, as the 90 team and all those teams, but they were all special. They were all very, very special. But Clemson's a tough job. I'm telling you, it is a tough job. And mainly because you don't have enough players in the state of South Carolina to carry you. You know, there's 3 million people or so in the state, and you're fighting South Carolina, you know, for those. Yet you got a state like Florida. Just take Miami and Florida State. They've got 17, 18 million people to draw from. Well, you know, the numbers are just not there. So you have to go steal some players out of the area. We always had a lot of success in Georgia. You know, Dale Davis came out of Georgia. Horace Grant came out of Georgia. Sharon Wright came out of Georgia. And we sold the ACC as opposed to the SEC. We always said, hey, you want to come to a basketball league as opposed to what we considered the SEC as a football league. Now, the SEC has come a long way since then, and it's a harder thing to do. The other thing we tried to do was go where population was. We went into the D.C. areas because we felt like there would be somebody there, and we went to California, which I really started in Mobile, Alabama, and South Alabama. I just felt like that there were more people in California than Georgia and South Carolina alone in the L.A. area, and we were able to get Ellen Campbell.
Right.
So we were that was kind of a strategy, and you have to be lucky. But Brad Burnell has one of the toughest jobs in the ACC. There's no question about it. It's tough. Brad's a great coach. He's not a good coach. He's a great coach. I really like Brad. I pull for Brad. He's a close friend of mine. I really want him to do well. The key is being fortunate enough. You got to get players, and you got to be fortunate enough that you hit. We took a lot of sleepers, and they turned out well. So, we were very fortunate. We got lucky, and I think you have to do that. But, with Louisville and those teams coming in, it's going to make the league just strong. But I think it's an opportunity for Clemson because it's just and I think it's back with those teams coming in, kind of like the '80s when we were locked in with 6 or 7 other schools, but those schools were all top 25, every one of them. So if we could win, we didn't have to win the league to get the NCAA. We just needed to win.
Exactly. That's the voice of former Clemson coach Cliff Ellis, two-time Atlantic Coast Conference Coach of the Year in '87 and 1990, also Coach of the Year in the SEC in '95 and '99 down at Auburn, and the Big South Coach of the Year back in 2010. Coach Ellis, final few questions, and we'll get you out of here. I know Tiger fans everywhere really appreciate you joining us. What have you heard, or what are your thoughts, I guess I should say, on this Ed Rush situation out in Arizona with the Pac-12? Have you heard about that? Do you know anything about it?
I don't know enough about it to comment on it, to be honest with you. I don't. I just picked up a little bit, but I really don't know enough.
Well, I guess the biggest thing that I would ask you about it, if you can comment on it, is having the officials, I guess the coordinator of officials, basically perhaps telling guys to ring up or run a coach, and you look at the years and years of, I guess, some of Clemson's fans being a bit disgruntled with referees in the league. And I'm not saying do you believe that this happened to Clemson, but do you believe that there's a possibility that there's more of this going on in college basketball than we know?
I have a lot of respect for I think the ACC officials are the best. I think ACC, what I know, I'm not out on the West Coast, so I don't know, but I can tell you this. You have got some great basketball officials that are in this league, that are in that league, the ACC.
Right.
Fred Barricat set a great tone. John Guthrie in the SEC set a great tone. Now, John Flaherty, who was a great official himself, he's doing that. You got Mike Wood in the Southern Conference. You got Joe Forte in our conference. These are guys that are very respectable, that I just don't think that they would allow anything like that. I really have I have not seen anything in our area that would create a problem. I really don't. I think that there are, officials are going to have a bad game. Teams are going to have a bad game, and they're going to be making mistakes. And we used to talk about, oh my goodness, when I came in the league, Lenny Wirtz, if he calls the North Carolina game, you're in trouble. Well, I found out that Lenny Wirtz was a pretty cool guy, and once you take that attitude, I think he gave us a pretty fair shake, and I'll never forget. This is the truth. This is the truth, and this is the respect I have. We had to beat North Carolina and Duke back to back. We had 3 games left in the regular season to win the regular season championship. We had North Carolina, Duke, and Georgia Tech on the road. Well, we knew winning at home, if we could win at home, then we could make this thing happen. We had North Carolina. They come down, and I'll never forget, the guy's name was Stan Rote. And he made a call, and it went against Dean Smith, and it was at our place, and it was in the right corner baseline in front of Dean's bench. And I will never forget him coming down the lane. He says, I made the right call. He was smiling. He said, don't let him kick me out of this league. But he had he was not going to let Dean Smith or whatever that intimidate him. And yet he'd make a point, don't let him kick me out of the league. I made the right call. And he did. And he did. Dean never did try to kick him out of the league, but it was a great call. And it was the right call, and it could have gone either way. Then we were able to go on and beat Duke and move on. But that is a true story. I just have so much respect for those guys, and a lot of them are very close friends. And I think the league is healthy official-wise. Are they better ones than others? Yeah, but we got to understand that they're going to have a bad night, tough night. But I think overall officiating is very healthy.
Well, Coach Ellis, I do appreciate your time, especially talking with Clemson fans here on TigerNet Talk, presented by Cross Creek Timber and Cross Creek Realty. Final thing before I get you out of here, it meant a lot to Clemson Nation. I can tell you, when you walked into Little John Coliseum and kissed that paw at center court, and I know that paw means a whole lot to Clemson fans, but to you, what does Clemson mean, and kind of, your thoughts on all your years there?
Well, it has my heart. The only time that I pull against Clemson is when we play. I pull for them in football. I pull for them in basketball. I pull for them in everything they do. I raised 3 kids for 10 years in that area. The people around there helped raise my children, whether it be school teachers, whether it be neighbors, whether it be friends. Still today, my close friends are there. Danny Ford and I, we did some fishing this summer. He and I, the time that that was a great era during that time. And Danny became a close friend and was a strong ally for basketball. I mean, he even gave some pep talks to the basketball team. I even gave a pep talk to the football team. You want to know the game that I gave the pep talk to?
Yeah, I'd love to.
All right. Well, it wasn't the one that you want to hear. That's when the Punt Rooski, Florida State.
Your alma mater. Your alma mater.
My alma mater, and I gave the pep talk, had it fired up, rode on the bus with the team, came down the hill, thought we had the game won, and the Punt Rooski occurred. So anyway, that was my pep talk to the team. But we were good friends. It was just a great, great time, and Dwight Rainey remains a friend. Bobby Robinson, Bill McClellan. Oh, I could go on and on. Man, oh man, people within that athletic department just still are close friends, and the IPTAY people, and I know the IPTAY job's open right now, and I'm sure hoping that they'll hire somebody that's good, that makes a difference. I hope it'll be a Clemson person. I've made my comment to people about that because it is an important position, and I wear Clemson with my heart. I really do, and I go back there, try to catch one football game a year. I can't catch basketball, but when I get out of coaching, I can promise you I will. And I still I still watch the baseball scores, the golf teams. Larry Penley and those guys. I'm all Clemson. I'm all Clemson. Outside of when we play, I'm Coastal Carolina now, but Clemson's right behind.
Coach, I really appreciate it, and we want to have you back on again. Amazing stuff, and thank you so much.
Absolutely. Enjoy being with you. Go Tigers.
All right, Coach Cliff Ellis joins us here on TigerNet Talk, presented by Cross Creek Timber and Cross Creek Realty. Unbelievable. We'll have some reflections on what Coach had to say right after these messages from some of our sponsors. Stay with us.
On the banks of those late fall, late Cartwheel sunsets, I wanted to be just like Jeff Davis when I grew up, tackling Seminoles and Bulldogs, playing football in the mud. So everybody sing Tiger Rag at the top of your lungs, and we'll party like it's 1981.
A winning team requires having great team members. If you're a landowner interested in selling timber or are considering buying or selling land, call the winning team of Cross Creek Timber and Cross Creek Realty, LLC today. Put the knowledge and skills of professional, licensed foresters and realtors to work for your team. To learn more about the forestry and real estate services offered by Cross Creek Timber, call 864-517-3620 and Cross Creek Realty, LLC at 864-517-3621, or visit www.crosscreektimber.com and easily follow the link to real estate. G-Dog General Dentistry at Oak Grove is located on Highway 1 near the Barnyard Flea Market. Modern, relaxing dentistry with TVs and headphones in every room, nitrous and even oral sedation. Digital diagnostic x-rays for better quality and 85% less radiation exposure. And check out their new Clemson Patient Special. Mention that you heard about G-Dog here on the Clemson Sports Talk programs and receive an extra 5% off all services. If you don't have a regular dentist, go see my dentist, Dr. Rick Jackson at G-Dog. That's General Dentistry at Oak Grove.
There's something about looking and feeling classy that everyone enjoys. Check out Edisto Outdoors, an apparel brand inspired by our southern animals and environment. These shirts feature soft-touch prints that will keep you looking your best in all types of weather. Look for Edisto Outdoors, coming soon to many fine retailers across the state, or visit www.edistooutdoors.com. Technical, comfortable, livable.
Blake Austin of South Carolina Farm Bureau is an insurance agent you can count on to meet all your needs. Home, auto, health, life, you name it, Blake's got you covered, and he can save you on your yearly rates. Call him now for a free quote, 803-259-5008. That's 803-259-5008. Or just go to ClemsonSportsTalk.com and click on the Farm Bureau logo to be connected to Blake. Do like I do and work with the best agent around, and you can tweet that. Clemson Sports Talk fans, let us help you. With rates starting as low as $100 a month, you can advertise with us through July 2013. We are currently seeking additional advertisers and would love to help you spread the word about your business. Email us clemson81@gmail.com for additional information. Sponsors will receive an ad during the show and a link and logo in the weekly show notes on TigerNet and on the front page of ClemsonSportsTalk.com. Take your business to the Clemson fans around the world with us, ClemsonSportsTalk.com.
Sick him on a chicken. Sick him on a chicken. Sick him on a chicken and
Thank
watch
goodness
them feathers fly.
we had to pre-record that interview with Coach Ellis because I had no problem with my voice yesterday, even though I've been sick for a couple of days. Part of the reason that we did an exclusive best-of edition of the Clemson Hotline on Sunday night at 9 p.m. Don't forget, Sunday nights, Wednesday nights, 9 p.m. right here for you. ClemsonSportsTalk.com, bringing you Clemson Tiger Talk basically 99.9% of the time. Mostly we talk all Clemson sports. We're not going to get into a bunch of other things. Hashtag TN Talk on Twitter. Email us, clemson81@gmail.com. Phone lines are always open. And as I mentioned before, I'm always a little bit disappointed in the graphics here on Spreecast. We do have a caller calling in to the program. We'll go ahead and punch them through. Caller, I'm sure you can hear me, so just hang with me for just a second. We'll get you through to the show in just a minute. But I do want to give away another shirt. Now, last week we gave away our new Clemson Sports Talk shirt. Now, this one has the same logo that you'll see just below here on the front left pocket. But then here's the back. Rocking it out. Clemson Sports Talk since 2004. I hope you can see that. Trying to get it up there on the screen real quick. The folks over at Tigertown Graphics do a fantastic job. Last week we only gave it away to our live listeners. Somebody in the chat room, I think it was Clemson Tom, was like, what are you doing? Had to switch the shirt around backwards so you could see the back. And I know, I could have just brought an extra one over here. We gave a couple away. I saw Chris. I'm going to try and put this tweet up real quick. I hope I can show this. Let's see, put on screen. I've never tried this Twitter feature. I hope you can see that. If you can see it, please post in the chat room that you can see it. Chris at CU Tailgater on Twitter got his shirt in the mail. He won last week by answering a trivia question. But I don't want to leave out all of our listeners to the podcast edition. It would be so unfair to leave them out this week. So we're not going to. We're going to give another shirt away, but this contest, I guess you could say, will run up until Sunday. So we'll announce our winner Sunday night at 9 p.m. So we'll end the contest about 6 p.m. Sunday. Here's all you have to do. It's very simple. All you have to do in order to win this contest is merely go to facebook.com/Clemson Sports Talk. If you go there, like our page, and then share our page. Two things you have to do, just two simple steps. Go there, like our page, and share our page, and you're in. And you've got a chance to win. We're going to give away 3 shirts this week. 3 of this brand right here. Clemson Sports Talk since 2004. It's got that awesome-looking tiger on there. My man Brian designed it up. It looks great. We're going to punch it through, though, real quick. We got a caller on the line. We're going to send it out to the phone lines now. Caller, welcome in to TigerNet Talk. Thank you for being here. Go ahead with your call. All right, maybe they got tired of waiting. You know, I heard a radio show. I can't remember if it was Dan Patrick. I think somebody had been on hold for an hour and 30 minutes. An hour and 30 minutes to be on with Dan Patrick. We won't put you on hold for that long. We definitely will not put you on hold for that long. Coach Cliff Ellis, man, I tell you what, he was unbelievable. He talked about going out and getting some recruits. Clemson Tom, everybody knows we've got a new recruit coming about 18 years from now, huh? Is this? Are you officially going to call him Clemson Xander? Is that how it's going to go? Little Clemson Tom Jr. Go ahead. He's out on the recruiting trail, I'm sure, already. People trying to pick him up. The multi-talented shooting guard. Maybe he's going to be a linebacker. One of those tiger sharks, as Clemson Tom likes to say. Here we go. We got a caller now. We're going to go ahead and punch him through the board. Go ahead, caller. Welcome in to TigerNet Talk. Welcome in, caller. Go ahead. Go ahead, caller. Well, they're there, but they're not talking. So, I know they can hear me. I know I can hear them, but they're not talking. Anyway, we'll move on. Cliff Ellis, though, man, I tell you what, he said 1984, everybody said, don't take that job. Do not take that job. Basically, it appeared to be, a death sentence if you went to Clemson. He found a way, though, brought in talent, went out, did everything he could to make it not just a very good program, but a respected program in a league that was full of talented coaches. And then he goes on to say that the next guy who wins the league, he'll kiss his ring. And, of course, Clemson didn't win the Atlantic Coast Conference tournament, so they didn't, quote, win the title. They did win the regular season crown. And I loved when he had to say that Clemson has his heart when I asked him, how he felt about Clemson. But once again, we're going to try the caller for the last time. If they don't come through this time, we're going to move on. Go ahead, caller. Welcome in to TigerNet Talk. They're gone. They're done. If the phone rings, I'm not going to answer it because something is obviously not quite right there. I don't know. Maybe they can't hear me. But anyhow, moving forward, I saw a great post on TigerNet this week by V. Brogdon 7. Now, if you happen to read David Hood's article on Roderick McDowell, you heard about Roderick's birth defect of having a club foot when he was a young man, and the fact that he actually had an opportunity to meet with a young man named Hunter, who was going through the same types of difficulty that Roderick McDowell had gone through when he was growing up. And it got to the point actually for Roderick McDowell where his mom had to make a decision that if he had another surgery, an additional surgery, perhaps he may not be able to walk again. He certainly would not have been able to be the Clemson Tiger running back that he is today. I mean, that's one thing we know for sure. But this story was so fantastic about Hot Rod McDowell just being so humble and going out into the public and spending time with Hunter. spending time with him, just letting him know that he can get through this, that that it's not the end of the world, that he's having these difficulties. And I posted on TigerNet that I was going to talk about this because I just think it's such a great story. It's another prime example. It's another prime example of Clemson Tiger football players going out and doing the right things in the community and being leaders and true role models, not just for these young citizens, but everybody. And when we have these guys come back on the show, you absolutely know how good they all are. And that's one of the things that's most impressive about this team. And I'm going to try and pull this picture up real quick of Roderick McDowell and Hunter at his school for you. There they are, Roderick and Hunter and his mom, getting a chance to go out there and just inspire this young man to realize that he can get through this tough and difficult time. And what an inspiration Roderick McDowell has been and will continue to be, not just for that young man, Hunter, but for other little Tigers out there everywhere. I just, when you hear those stories, when you see them, it just really impresses you as to where our program is as far as the caliber player that we have. And when you see in the news the things that are going on, all the bad things in sports, all the news that's coming out of Auburn right now, you can go back in the annals of when I was doing Y'all Sports Daily, 2 hours of Southern sports talk. I mean, I had no confidence or faith that the Auburn situation surrounding Cam Newton, much less other stuff that was going on, was going to turn up rosy. And it right now it doesn't look that way if you've seen some of the latest breaking news that's coming out of the Plains. And then you look at the things going on. We can knock Brad Brownell. You can talk about how difficult it is to win, but then you look at the stuff that's going on at Rutgers, and you can say, thank goodness Brad Brownell doesn't have anything like that surrounding him and the Clemson basketball team. Abusive coaches. I mean, those things aren't good. That's worse than only winning 5 games in conference play, is when you're abusive and losing. And I certainly think that Clemson fans can have some solace and some, a good feeling about that. Obviously, this weekend is going to be a big one for the Atlantic Coast Conference. No, there's no Atlantic Coast Conference team in the Final Four, but the potential exists for 2 future Atlantic Coast Conference teams in Louisville and Syracuse to play for the national championship. That job, when we talked with Cliff Ellis about it, that job has just gotten so much tougher. Not just on Brad Brownell, but on every other coach in this league. When you start adding in the likes of Rick Pitino, when you start adding in the Jimmy Boeheims of the world, this league is going to become so unbelievably difficult to win basketball games. Frustration is going to set in because there are going to be some losses that you personally believe we should win, and there are going to be a lot of losses where you're going to just go, oh my goodness, we don't stand a chance. So we're still going to have those heartbreaking defeats, and on top of that, you're bringing in 3, 4 schools, if you count Notre Dame, that are going to be even more difficult to beat. The job just got harder. And I don't expect that Cliff Ellis will be kissing anybody's rings anytime soon in Clemson, because to be honest with you, I just don't see the wins being there. I don't know who you're going to put in. I don't know if you could put in the right person and get to the Atlantic Coast Conference championship game. The championship game of the Atlantic Coast Conference tournament. That might be the only way you do it, is to find your way to have 3 or 4 good days in Greensboro or Charlotte or Atlanta or wherever the tournament's going to be hosted. That might be the only chance you have, because going through the grind of the regular season as Clemson and winning the conference, that's just not going to happen. And I don't think that's I don't think that's anything that many of you would disagree with. That's where this league is headed. I mean, the stars are aligning that it's going to be even more difficult for Clemson than it's ever been. Neat question that was brought up on TigerNet. I know we're running out of time here on the show, but I do have to get to a final break. Neat question that was brought up on TigerNet today. Think about it during this break. If Clemson didn't exist, who would you have pulled for? We talked traditions last week. I believe it was last week or 2 weeks ago on the show. But if Clemson didn't exist, who would you pull for? I'd love to hear from the chat room. Stay with us. Final segment of the show coming up.
Didn't know it was gone the day she moved out. In my head, if I pointed it just
The 1988 season was a great year for the Clemson Tigers, finishing 10-2 with a win over Oklahoma in the Citrus Bowl. But it was a better year for Clemson fans. That season, Tigertown Graphics became your source for custom tees, promotional items, and embroidery. Conveniently located in the heart of downtown Clemson, their retail store proudly displays Clemson shirts that are designed and printed directly on site. Whether you're looking for the latest Clemson t-shirts or ordering products for your school, organization, or business, Tigertown Graphics can help with all of your t-shirt needs. Find them online at www.tigertowngraphics.com. A Clemson tradition since 1988.
Blake Austin of South Carolina Farm Bureau is an insurance agent you can count on to meet all your needs. Home, auto, health, life, you name it, Blake's got you covered, and he can save you on your yearly rates. Call him now for a free quote, 803-259-5008. That's 803-259-5008. Or just go to ClemsonSportsTalk.com and click on the Farm Bureau logo to be connected to Blake. Do like I do and work with the best agent around, and you can tweet that. Hey there, Tiger fans. When you take yourself out to the ball game, make sure that you're staying at the Clemson University Conference Center and Inn. That's right, it's the closest hotel to Doug Kingsmore Stadium. Lakeside accommodations, complimentary continental breakfast bar with waffles, the Seasons by the Lake restaurant, Joe's Place Bar, and the Walker Golf Course are all waiting for you right around the corner from Doug Kingsmore Stadium. For reservations, contact General Manager Sharon Franks at sharonf@clemson.edu or call 1-888-654-9020 and ask to speak to Sharon. Buy yourself some peanuts and Cracker Jacks, but make sure that you stay at the Clemson University Conference Center and Inn. A winning team requires having great team members. If you're a landowner interested in selling timber or are considering buying or selling land, call the winning team of Cross Creek Timber and Cross Creek Realty, LLC today. Put the knowledge and skills of professional licensed foresters and realtors to work for your team. To learn more about services offered by Cross Creek Timber and Cross Creek Realty, LLC, visit www.crosscreektimber.com and easily follow the link to real estate or reach them by phone 864-517-3620 or 864-517-3621.
There's something about looking and feeling classy that everyone enjoys. Check out Edisto Outdoors, an apparel brand inspired by our southern animals and environment. These shirts feature soft-touch prints that will keep you looking your best in all types of weather. Look for Edisto Outdoors coming soon to many fine retailers across the state, or visit www.edistooutdoors.com. Technical, comfortable, livable.
In 81, the Tiger goal is to win the championship. Climb to the top of the football poles, win us a bowl game trip. Like Jack and the Beanstalk.
Oh, you gotta love this.
The ladder's hard to climb. But we've been up on top before, and we'll be there one more time.
Oh man, that song came out before the national championship season. I thought it was perfect though, because it's talking about being on the top of the ACC. Where, good gracious, I mean, Clemson Tiger basketball is probably never going to be there. I think we need to settle in and just understand that. Keith, welcome to the show, man. Thank you so much for being here with us. Hope you'll take part in the contest. Got some information up at the top. And I can't see the Facebook page the same way you see the Facebook page. I guess because I am the owner or whatever, the moderator of the Facebook page. Facebook.com/Clemson Sports Talk. Go there. Clemson Sports Talk. Go there, click the like button, and then share the page. If you can't figure out how to share the page, just go on down and share the support our programs by purchasing a Clemson Sports Talk shirt. I know you can share that post from yesterday. I'm going to highlight that post so that you don't miss it. Share that post to your friends. That'll help us out here a little bit. Thank you so much for being here. Hashtag TN Talk is the way you get to us on Twitter, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Chris's shirt looks amazing. He won it last week with a trivia question. This week, I don't want to leave out our podcast listeners. It wouldn't be fair. I'm sure there were some podcast listeners saying last week, can you believe this guy isn't going to give us an opportunity? Can you believe this guy isn't going to allow us a chance to win?
Well, that's the dumbest thing I've heard of.
Our ears are just as valuable as any other listener to this program. Give us a shot. We've gone over an hour here this evening, but I know I can trim it back a little bit because we had some issues with the phone lines. Not sure what that was about. Sunday night at 9 p.m., though, Clemson Hotline will be going on. I hope you'll join us then right here on ClemsonSportsTalk.com and on Spreecast. We're continuing to climb that ladder. It's guys like Keith showing up, Matthew getting that new laptop, Doug, RC Sports Cards, the guys over at TigerNet, a bunch of guests with us. Tons of people here. Once again, more and more each and every week. During football season, it gets crazy. I think we saw something like, 238 live listeners at one point during the college football season. I mean, ridiculous. The chat room, you can't even follow it when that's going on. Fortunately, some people don't type anything. Again, the Clemson Tigers did get a victory this evening. Just before we came on the air, that game went closed over Gardner-Webb, 4-1. The weekend series on the road at Chestnut Hill against Boston College. There's probably going to be 4 people in attendance. Boston College has 0 wins in conference play. There was a post about which team holds the league down the most, and most people feel like it's Boston College. But the question that I wanted to get to was, if Clemson did not exist, who would you pull for? But before I do that, I want to say I did post on TigerNet that I was going to have Cliff Ellis on, and CM Shack wrote and said, I remember the presser the day he was hired. Told us he was here to win the ACC. He says my dad was so fired up he had to pull the car over. And then we went out and won the ACC the regular season. Still the pinnacle of Tiger basketball. Lightbulb Bill said Cliff may be my favorite Clemson basketball coach ever. He was a winner for sure. Go Tigers. And Tiger Ron said he's outcoached Brad 2 years in a row with much less talent. The game I saw down there at Coastal was the worst game I've ever seen the Tigers play, and I've been watching Tiger hoops for 50 years. No hustle, no passion, and Brad Brownell did not appear upset at any time during the game. He should have torn a couple of Tigers for not fighting. Of course, the refs, they were letting the French Coots get away with mugging, especially on Jennings. I'm sure that Ellis knew that was the way to beat the Tigers, as that's how they beat us the year before. Yeah, put Clemson at the free throw line. Ellis knows it well. We'd have been playing in the Elite Eight against Duke, a Duke team that we could have beaten. I don't know that we could have gone on. I think the next game would have been against UCLA maybe, and then the Final Four matchup might have been UNLV that year. I don't remember the exact brackets the way that went down after Clemson got knocked out because I was too busy crying myself to sleep at night. That is the honest truth. I was crying myself to sleep. I told my dad to call CBS that we needed to replay that again. I was a wreck. I was an emotional disaster. I mean, I just could not hold it together.
I'm in a glass case of emotion.
It was so painful. It really was. But if Clemson didn't exist, who would you pull for? I saw some people in the chat room say that Clemson Tom would have pulled for the Coots. Yeah, Tom would have been a huge Gamecock fan. Gamecock Tom. Matthew says maybe Nebraska, probably Georgia. I said Georgia personally. I don't know there would have been any chance, even living in the state of South Carolina, that I would have been a Gamecock fan. I'm sure I would have been a Georgia fan. I probably would have gone to Wofford had they let me in. They probably don't accept a whole lot of people that go to school for 14 semesters straight through undergrad. I pulled that feet off at Clemson. It's some kind of record. Somewhere. It's got to be a record. RC Sports Car said probably West Virginia or Marshall. Must be a man from the state of West Virginia. Doug goes with Miami. I mean, I tell you what, Doug, I don't know how old you are, but I'll tell you this. If you grew up in the 80s, Miami would have been a tough team not to pull for. Not to say that you're a front runner, Doug. I don't know enough about you. I'm a Laker fan. I'm not a front runner. I've been a Laker fan my whole life. But yes, absolutely. Miami would have been 5 rings, I think. Good gracious. Tons of talent. Tons of talent. That cold is not doing me any good. No favors right now. Clemson Tom would have been Clemson Coot, Matthew says. We'll put that on the screen, Matt. That's screen-worthy. That's screen-worthy. And RC Sports Cards acknowledges that, yes, he is. His dad's from West Virginia. I think it's intriguing. A lot of people kind of go with the Michigans. I thought Texas A&M because I've always liked them a little bit. The best, though, CU Tiger 1989. He's got 10 points for this so far. And a nice trophy. Whoever's playing South Carolina. That's who he would have pulled for. Oregon in this day and age would be a team that I think you can honestly say might have intrigued a lot of people if Clemson didn't exist. And then you had some Clemson fans who said flat out, if Clemson didn't exist, I'd probably have been forced to be a Carolina fan just because of being in the area, in the general vicinity. And that would have probably been a struggle for me. I just, when I look at it, I go, God, I really hope I would have probably picked Georgia. I mean, I really hope I would have. But it's always intriguing. We talked about what traditions you would get rid of. What if Clemson didn't exist at all? I know it's a nightmare. It's nothing that you really want to think about. It is a nightmare. It's like a bad dream. The Twilight Zone. I'll say Georgia. What say you? Tweet to us. Hashtag TN Talk. Let us know. Let us know who you would have pulled for had Clemson not existed. I think it's an interesting thing to talk about. Tiger Eric says Tri-County Tech or Greenville Tech or maybe even Midlands Tech. I love it. Awesome stuff. Thank you so much, as always, for being here with us once again. Sunday night at 9, Clemson Hotline. Wednesday night at 9, TigerNet Talk. And my goodness, you've been a fantastic crowd this evening in the chat room. I appreciate it so much. Don't forget about our contest to win a shirt. 3 listeners. Like our Facebook page, facebook.com/Clemson Sports Talk, and then share the page or share the link about supporting our programs by purchasing one of our Clemson Sports Talk shirts. And we'll get you one that looks just like this one on the program. Until next time, as always, y'all take care now. And go Tigers!